Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Have you said that? How about as a parent, when you've heard your child screaming names at you, that frustration that builds up? You are so mean. You hate me. It's never fair. You always do what they want to do. We all hear those kinds of things, or the meltdowns in the store, the strangers coming up to us and telling us how we should be parenting our child. Well, all of that is so frustrating and it's so overwhelming. And sometimes, as parents, we do find ourselves saying things like, "What is wrong with my child?" Well, we want to make sure that we always keep in mind that that behavior that we're seeing from our kids is trying to tell us something, right? We know behavior is communication. And today we are going to be learning more about why our kids are not broken. They don't have to be fixed, but instead there's things that we can change as adults. There's things in our environment that we can change, and our kids can be more successful. So if you would like to get the training notes for today, let us know in the comments below, and we will get you set up for that. Now we have a wonderful guest, and before I bring her on, just for new people, I wanted to give a short intro of myself. I am Charmaine Tanner. I'm a retired teacher, a parent, an advocate, and I host this weekly Facebook Live show for parents. And we are so excited because today we have a special guest with us, and let me bring her up. And this is Dayna Abraham.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, well, this is a very busy day. So I want to give an alert to our viewers that we are going to be condensed, but you are going to be leaving our show with some wonderful tips. We are also going to be talking about the workshop, Calm the Chaos, that just launched this morning.
Just a couple of hours ago. Yeah.
I just watched the first video and it is so awesome. I can't wait for you guys to watch it. So we're going to get into our content, and then at the end of the show, we'll say goodbye to Dayna, but we will have our drawing for our Louise Hayes Love Yourself cards. So remind me after we say goodbye to Dayna that we will do that drawing. So Dayna, I know I had first heard you on your Lemon Lime Adventures Facebook page, and you were interviewing Seth Perler, and then Seth had his executive online function class. I saw you speak there, and it was like, this is the perfect person to speak to the parents that are our viewers. So welcome to our viewers. If you're watching live or on the replay, make sure you type in questions, comments that you have. But Dayna, we want to look at, because sometimes it's really easy as parents and teachers to think that something is wrong with a child and what we have to do to change that. But can you talk to us, and if you want to share more about yourself first, and then why we want to make sure that parents aren't feeling that their kids are broken?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as soon as I met you and we started talking, I was like, this is the perfect place for me to hang out. I could hang out on this page all day long. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited. A little bit about me is that I was a national board certified teacher. I was in the classroom for over 15 years, and I taught everything from early childhood, preschool, to gifted kindergarten, to a blended classroom with special needs and typically developing kids, to first grade, the whole like early childhood gamut. And my favorite kiddos in the classroom were the really hard ones, the ones that you knew their name before they got to your classroom, the ones that, came with a paper trail behind them and all of that. So those were always my favorite kids. And I think secretly, because I was one of those kids growing up, I never got in tons and tons of trouble, but I think I was more of like the sneaky troubler. But I definitely was out of the box, and yeah. And I think that I went so undetected because I now know I'm probably twice exceptional, right? Like I know now that I have executive function struggles, but I also was in all the gifted and honors classes. And so I just didn't really fit growing up. And I think that's why I always loved those kids. And then I had my own kid, and my first one. And no matter how much training I had, I spent the first 7 years of my parenting life feeling like I was failing, like I was a terrible mother. I got kicked out of preschool. He got kicked out of kindergarten. And he first grade calls all the time, second grade calls all the time. By third grade, it just became really evident he didn't belong in the school setting anymore. And we had just gotten him an IEP, so we had gone through the whole process of all of that, and so we just had to try a radically different approach, not just the things that I had been taught in my teacher years and things like that. So I started Lemon Lime Adventures, the blog, as a selfish venture because I needed to know I wasn't alone. And I felt like I was failing. And I thought, well, maybe I can at least find a couple other failing moms and we'll just kind of like join each other.
Hang out together.
Yeah, just hang out together. We can like be the failing moms club. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, but I felt awful. And what I discovered is that one, I was not alone. We now get over, we get over 3 million hits to our blog a year. And yeah, like not alone, not at all. So I found out that not only are we not alone, but we're not failing and our kids aren't broken. And that was a game changer for me. When I brought my son home, I had 2 goals. And it was, one, I wanted him to not hate himself for not fitting in a world that understood him. And 2, I wanted him to not hate the world for not understanding him. And those were my only 2 goals. And so I got to work trying to figure that out. And it was messy and ugly for a while. And what I discovered along the way is probably things that you've even taught here. But the very first thing is that one thing that proves that our kids are not broken is that all behavior, and I mean all behavior, even all behavior, is communication. And what I mean by that is it is a sign that something else is going on. It is a sign of an unmet need. It is a sign that your child's trying to tell you something. But what happens is a lot of times when people hear that all behavior is communication, or that it is a sign that something's under the surface, people start looking for a diagnosis under the surface. Oh, well, maybe they have autism, or maybe they have ADHD, or maybe they have this, or maybe they have that. And I want to be really clear. I think labels are an amazing tool in the toolbox. And I think that labels have their place, and I think that diagnoses have their place. So I want to be really clear that that's what I'm saying. But at the same time, sometimes the search is for what's wrong, or the search is for what you're doing wrong. So I've noticed that. How many of you guys have noticed that? Like in Facebook groups you join or support groups you join, you post something, a struggle you're going through, and suddenly you get 300 comments, and the comments are one of 2 things. They are, well, have you tried? Well, have you tried? Well, you should, right? Am I right there? And then if they don't say that, it's, well, have you had them tested? Well, have you looked into this? Have you given them medication? Well, have you and so if you listen to what people are saying there, it's 2 categories. It's you're doing something wrong or your kid is broken. That must be the problem. But we're looking at behavior wrong. We're looking at what our kids are doing and what they're telling us, and we're trying to make them comply with our expectations and with our rules. And sometimes we're the ones that actually might need to change. And so that's what led me to number 2. So the first one is that the behavior is a sign. And a lot of times that is just so helpful to be like, okay, they're trying to tell me something. Like, what are they trying to tell me? I'll remain calm. This isn't about me. It's not because I failed. And number 2 is that every child is unique. We hear that all the time and people love to say it, but then we give kids all the same strategies and the same expectations when it comes to behavior. We don't do that with math. We don't do that with reading. We don't do that with any other learning in the schools. We differentiate their instruction. We give them, or we should, right?
We hope.
It's a very known best practice, right? The research backs it that children are unique learners and they need unique strategies to learn. And they need, some kids need to stand, or some kids need to speak their words, and some kids need to write their words, and some kids need only a few numbers on the page, and some kids can write, do all the numbers on the page. We already know that. But when it comes to behavior, we treat them all the same. Sit, be quiet, focus, pay attention, do your work. And if they don't do that, it's you're lazy, you're not paying attention, you're disrespectful. And all these words come out that label our kids in another way, and they put them in this other light. And so what I found is that my kiddo needed unique solutions specifically for him. But it didn't mean I needed to throw everything out. But at first that felt really overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, my kid's unique. Every kid's unique, and every kid needs a different solution. So how the heck am I supposed to figure out what my kid needs? And what I found out is that there's actually there's a unique way that, if done in the right order, you can place your kid's unique needs, your kid's unique way of connecting, your kid's unique way of being themselves, all in a line. And suddenly you have a kid who feels empowered, who can speak up for themselves, who feels like they fit into a world that doesn't understand them. And that's where the magic starts to happen. And the third thing, am I moving too fast at all?
Oh no, I just love it. Yeah, because I think that's it, right? It's like identifying those strengths and those wonderful gifts that our kids have, and how to build on that versus so much focus on that negative kind of part,
right. Yeah, and that's what the third one is that so often we focus on the struggles. We focus on all the things our kids can't do, all the things they're doing wrong, all of the things that they're doing that are hurtful, right? Because that's the stuff causing us the most pain. So it makes sense for us to focus on the struggles. But when we do that, we are completely forgetting the other side of those struggles. So a really good, easy one to remember, or a really easy one to see, is like anxiety, right? A lot of times we can look at a kid who refuses to go to school, who cries at the drop of a hat, and we're like, man, they're just really anxious. The other thing about an anxious kiddo is that kid is paying attention to all options. That kid is paying attention to everything around them. They're seeing everything. They're hearing everything. And that is the kid that you want on your team when they're grown up, because they're going to be the ones that are looking at, like, what are the risk involved? What are some things we need to think about first, instead of jumping head first into a problem or solution? And so when we can see, this is where a lot of people get this wrong, but it's not just focusing on the things they're good at and instead of the things they're bad at, but instead it's seeing that the things that are their struggles are actually their biggest superpower. So that's a huge one. I mean, that's a
yeah, and I think that is like mind blowing, right? It's like, so yeah, and I mean, I haven't done that, and so yeah, I mean, I have grown kids, but I have grandkids, so it's like all of this is like really applies. So can you talk a little bit more about how that struggle is their superpower, because that's
Yeah.
like
So
key.
let's a really good example of this is Michael Phelps. And I go over this in our workshop and video too. But a really great example of this is Michael Phelps. He was hyper focused or he was, sorry, I'm jumping the gun. He was distracted at school. He was struggling with his math. He was constantly moving. All these things were happening, right? And he was really struggling in math, and he got a tutor who was like, "Hey buddy, like I noticed that you really love swimming, and you put all your attention on swimming. And if you could, you would swim all day long. What if we start using that swimming as a way to increase your math scores? Let's start seeing how we can get a faster time on your swim." And they started using that intense focus, which could be seen as a distractibility in some places.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They started to use that to help create his own superpowers and create his own way of navigating through life. I think of another one. There was this amazing story, and I forget his name. His name's Clint something. He is a drummer, and he is now, as an adult, he's a drummer who drums all over the world. But when he was a kid, he was always distracted. He was constantly moving, constantly touching things. And, he was getting bad grades in school. And one day after school, he got called to the teacher. And the teacher, he was like, "I'm going to get in trouble again. I'm always in trouble." And the teacher opened up his drawer and pulled out a pair of drumsticks. And he said, "Hey, anytime you're really like antsy or you're really struggling, I want you to put that energy into these drumsticks."
Huh.
And so he learned, wait a second, like this isn't a bad thing that I am fidgety and I touch everything and I need to do this. Like this is part of who I am. And I need to accept that and not hate that part of me. And then I need to find tools and strategies that help me navigate a world that doesn't understand that. Does that make sense? And he became like a drummer that traveled the world, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and see, and that, yeah, and it's so taking that, like, I love that. I always talk about we have to be better detectives, and looking how we can turn that into something that's going to be really helpful for them. And so, as parents, that's huge, right? So when we see our kids at home, having struggles, and yeah. So I don't know, do you have like a story that you could share that would be a context of something happening at home?
You mean you don't understand? You don't like relate to Michael Phelps?
Yeah. No, those are good, but you know what I mean as far as like.
No, I totally understand. No, I totally understand. So my daughter, who is typically developing, she's 6 now, really is she was having a lot of tantrums, just very typical, 3-4-year-old tantrums. And in the morning we were just having these battles to get out the door. We just couldn't get out the door no matter how hard I tried. And then I remembered, okay, I wonder what is behind this struggle that is also a superpower.
Right.
And what I discovered was that this girl is fierce. Like she knows what she wants. She knows what she likes, and she is going to go to the ends of the earth to make that happen. And that is a really good skill in a kid if we can help them hone that skill and hone that personality trait. And so what I realized is, wait a second, if I let her be a part of this, if I let her make the decisions in the morning, and you've all heard a lot of this before, but sometimes we just throw choice at them, or we throw, like letting them be involved. But when we really, ahead of time say, "Hey, you know what? I noticed that in the morning you're really struggling, and I'm wondering what's going on. Well, I thought I was going to have time to do XYZ, and we're rushing out the door. I wonder how we can solve that. Well, maybe we can wake up earlier. Okay, great. What would you want to do if you had all the time in the world in the morning? Well, I would want to make my own breakfast, and then I would want to be able to play with my Barbies before we leave." Okay, awesome. Well, let's make a schedule to make that happen. And so using her intense fierceness and using her interest and using her superpower the struggle was no longer something that kept her from enjoying life. Does that make sense?
See, isn't that like wonderful? And it's like, think of how that changes how she feels about herself, right? You know, that it's not like I'm bugging mom and mom's going to get upset, but it's like mom understands me. Mom's going to give me the time that I need. So, yeah, so this leads into the Calm the Chaos workshop that you're now offering, because these are exactly the types of nitty gritty kinds of things that parents are going to be learning. And I love just the concept of how you're doing it. They're pre-recorded videos, so parents can watch them at 3 a.m. if it works, or at 5 when they get up, or whatever. But there's going to be a series of 4 different videos. But you also have some group coaching calls. You also are going to have pajama watch parties.
Yep. We're going to have some pajama parties. We're going to have some fun. Parenting should be fun. And I know that if you are parenting a kiddo who is needing an advocate at school, then parenting's not fun right now.
Right.
So I know that. And so we try to infuse fun in parenting as much as possible. So we're going to have a pajama party after every video, and we're going to watch the videos again together and answer questions you have about the video. And we're just going to have fun. My husband's going to join me after we put the kids to bed, and it's just going to be a lot of late night fun.
And when I watched your first video today, it was about the iceberg theory. But if you want to maybe give a synopsis of what those 4 videos will be covering, and just the huge amount of positive outcomes and benefits that parents will get from it.
Absolutely. So our workshop, like Charmaine said, is a 4-part series. And the first 3 videos are going to kind of share what our framework is. I shared a little bit of it today, and we talk about the iceberg theory. The first video is all about how to remain calm yourself, and then what the 4 elements are for creating a thriving relationship with your kids. And those 4 elements, we actually have a life assessment. So I have it printed right here. So we have an assessment in each of those 4 areas where you can go through and say, okay, where do I kind of like fall, so that you can find your next step? Because we are not about tips and tricks and hacks. You guys have enough of those on Pinterest and Google. And there's a sea of information out there. I want to help you cut through that information. And so the assessment's going to help you with that, because you're going to be able to see, even if you get zeros across the board, you'll be able to see, okay, I got to work on step 1, and you'll know exactly where to start. So that's what video 1 is all about. And we even show you how to use those 4 elements in the moment of a meltdown. So you could even today, if your kid has a meltdown after school, you could apply this immediately. And then in video 2, we're going to be giving you the first step in the Calm the Chaos framework, which is all about connection. And I know Charmaine preaches about connection and relationship over here. So you guys are going to love it. But in that one, we're going to show you a very counterintuitive way to get your kiddos on board, to get them to do the things we want them to do without truly diving into that whole compliance thing, that bad word, right? It is about getting our kids to do what we want, but it's about being a team, right? And it's about making sure that both of us are getting our needs met. And in video 2, we're going to dive into that. And I'm going to actually walk you through step by step how to turn your kids' most challenging struggle into a superpower. And so that is video 2. In video 3, I'm going to walk you through the entire Calm the Chaos framework. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 elements and dive deeper, and you're going to actually be able to, I don't have it printed out yet, but we have a 16-page framework. You can just like download it and print it out. We have had people who they only do the first 3 videos in the workshop. They don't join us in our program. They only do those 3, and they've had life-changing results. So I know that if you do the work in the workshop and you download the printables, you can take it and go do it on your own 100%. And then the 4th video is where we show you what the steps are in the framework and in our program. And we show you how you can join our program if that is something that you want help with.
And there's also a Facebook group, right, that people can join. And there's already been lots of rich discussion in there. And Dayna has a trained group of coaches that are also available, and they've been commenting, and people that have been through her program before. So I really encourage you. There's a link in the post and also in the comments that you can click on. And like I said, you can watch this first video and the other ones anytime you want, because they are, recorded and available for you. So that works no matter if you're in Australia or in Idaho.
Yes, absolutely.
But I want to thank you so much, Dayna, for coming on today. And we want to let you get back because this is your first day and you have lots of people.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this, though. So if you join from Charmaine, from this, if you watch this, then and you join the Facebook group, please let me know. Because I want to be able to thank Charmaine for sending you over, and then I'll know that we're like instant friends because we were on this chat together. So I see some comments here from like Holly and Julie and Brittany, and so Julie, those are some. I don't know if we have questions yet or if we have time for questions. That's up to Charmaine. I can.
Yeah, and so it's up to you because I know, I had said that we would try to keep this to a half hour. I don't know if you want to look at Julie's here where she talks about how to recommend starting that conversation with your child's teacher.
Yeah.
And not
one of the best ways, Julie, right now, and I can't say this most times of the year because we only run this workshop a few times a year. The best way to start this conversation right now is to say, hey, I'm doing this workshop. Do you want to do this with me? It's by a teacher. Teachers have taken it. I'm going to be taking it. It's super quick and easy. Are you interested? It's free. And that is the easiest way to get the conversation started. And then the next way is as you're learning some of these things in the workshop, they're very easy, actionable items that you can then share with the teacher. So we were just talking about this before with Charmaine, and we were saying like the framework comes with very clear step-by-step of, okay, you place this information here and this information here. So it's really easy to then take that information to a teacher. So just if you have a good relationship with them, it's only 3 weeks, it's the beginning of the school year, just say, hey, so I'm doing this workshop and, it just reminded me how much my kiddo loves connection. And I'd love to get to know you better. I'd love to get to know, my son or my daughter to get to know you better. How can we make it so that my son or my child can feel connected to you? And then you can keep going on the progress from there. But you have to start with that connection piece, because if you don't start with connection, it doesn't matter how many tools and tricks you have.
Right. So that was a great question, Julie.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you
fantastic.
so much.
That's why I went ahead and
answer,
but
yeah. And Holly appreciates that your husband is involved too.
He is. We call him Lemon Pickle. There's a whole story to that. So on an Ask Me Anything, you guys should ask that. But yeah, he shows up and it's a fun story. Like we were in a really bad place. I say that we were on the brink of divorce. My husband says that wasn't going to happen. I'm like, he said it was over. Like he has a very different memory of the story. So it wasn't pretty. It was really bad. And so when you see us, and we share our story, just know that we've had to go through what a lot of you guys have had to go through. And so it's possible. It's possible to get to the place where we are. And bring your spouse on board, even if they're not ready yet.
Well, thank you so much, Dayna. And we are going to let you go. I am going to do a drawing, or actually 3 for some Love Yourself cards here. And we shall see you in the Facebook group. And I'm excited to learn more from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And so if you were with us last week, we did a new thing. And let me get my cards. Where did I put them? So we have 3 cards that we're going to give away. And I'm just going to scroll through the comments. And I am going to stop on somebody. And I stopped on myself. That won't work. So, Brittany. Brittany, hey there. So, Brittany, pick 1, 2, or 3, and let me know in the comments which number you pick. And that will be the card that I will mail to you. And it's a wonderful affirmation, and I'll share that with you in a second. So, Brittany, which one would you like? 1, 2, or 3? And then let me write down so I remember. Brittany is number 1. And let me scroll again and pick another lucky winner. And it's Holly. So Holly, let's see. Brittany picked number 2. So Holly, tell me if you want 1 or 3. And let's read Brittany's. So let me put down Holly is number 2. Oop, Brittany's number 2. Ah. Okay, Brittany, this is yours, number 2. Let me hide this comment. Brittany, yours says, I affirm that I am totally willing to freely forgive everyone. And on the back, it says, I release from within me all bitterness and resentment. I let go of old hurts and forgive everyone, including myself. So, Brittany, if you can send me a private message with your mailing address, and I'll get your Love Yourself card out to you. So, thanks. And let's see. So, Holly, did you pick a number? And we have one more card. Let me scroll and see who I get this time. And it's Julie. So, Julie, I haven't seen Holly pick. I wonder if she jumped off. So, Julie, you can pick number 1 or number 3. Which one would you like? Are you still here? If not, I can put this in the comments and you guys can come back. So, Julie, if you're still with us live, Holly, if you're still with us live. Oh, okay. So, see, Holly picked number 2. I'm sorry, Holly. I got that wrong because Brittany had picked number 2. So, Julie wants number 1. So, Holly, we'll give you number 3. Sorry, this is confusing. Okay, Julie, yours says, I release all blame and turn within to seek the truth. And on the back, it says, I affirm that I am willing to release the causes and patterns in my consciousness that are creating any negative conditions in my life. So, Julie, if you can, I'm sorry, I'm getting like so mixed up here. If you can send me, Julie, if you can send me your address, I'll get you the card. And Holly is going to have number 3. And Holly, yours says, with affirmations, I claim my inner power. And on the back, it says, no matter what I choose to believe or say, the universe always says yes to me. Therefore, I choose only positive thoughts and words. So, Brittany, Holly, and Julie, send me your mailing address, and these will be off in the mail. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed today's training with Dayna Abraham. Know that her Calm the Chaos workshop is just starting. You can get in on that. You can recommend it to teachers or friends. And just from attending the 4 free sessions, you will learn so much. And so I encourage you to sign up for that. We will be back next Thursday at noon Mountain Time, and we will be doing a monthly Q&A. So bring your questions, and just know that the changes that you are creating are not only helping your child, but so many other kids that are coming after them. So I am Charmaine Tanner. Thank you for being part of our group and our community. And we shall see you next week. Take care.